Welcome to The Smart Divorce on Divorce Source Radio, helping you move forward with focus, hope, and confidence, saving you time, money, and your sanity as you build a better life post-divorce. I'm Steve Peck. Deborah Moskovich, divorce consultant, educator, and author of The Smart Divorce, brings you the leading experts and researchers in the divorce arena. We'll also be speaking with those in the trenches, people who've learned from their divorce and how their experience has changed their lives. And they would tell you for the better. Deborah's learned that divorce can be a beginning, even if it looks like an end. Divorce can be rich in opportunity to learn and grow from. And we're going to explore how to take this information and create a positive post-divorce life. We've got a celebrity guest on the program for you today. It's Judge Lynn Toler of Divorce Court, the television show that originally aired in 1957 and has been on and off the air throughout the years. Judge Lynn took over the television franchise in September 2006, and you can still see her today all over the country, just about every day, on Divorce Court. But did you know she's also a former municipal court judge and is a bi-monthly contributor to News and Notes on NPR. She became the host of the primetime TV show Decision House in 2007. And then in 2006, Judge Lynn published her book, My Mother's Rules, a practical guide to becoming an emotional genius. And in 2009, Judge Lynn also published her second book, Put It in Writing, co-authored with Deborah Hutchinson. Hello, Judge Lynn. Debbie and I are so excited to have you on The Smart Divorce on Divorce Source Radio.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's such an honor to have you. I love your show, Divorce Court. It really shows the humanity of people going through divorce. But I'm wondering if people are really realistic about the divorce process after watching Divorce Court. So can you explain to our listeners how really important it is that people understand the court process and it's not everything that they see on TV? Like, it just doesn't happen in 22 minutes?
Absolutely. The process is very long, and the process of divorce is one that typically the vast majority of it doesn't take place in a courtroom. The vast majority of it takes place in filings and in negotiations and proceedings that lead up to maybe a few minutes in court where things are signed off on, unless, of course, you have issues that you are fighting over. The value of a business, that's a tough one. Who should get the children? Expert witnesses about who's doing what and what would be in the best interest of the children. So if you have one particularly sticky issue, you have a trial or something like that. But mostly divorces take time, but that time is not spent in a courtroom.
Right. So important to realize and understand. Now, the group that's coming on to your show, they're largely unrepresented. I don't think they do have legal counsel, do they?
Right, because what we're doing on Divorce Court is resolving a single, simple issue that they would like to resolve right then. They have agreed to binding arbitration about Fluffy the dog or the Cadillac or whatever it may be, this one particular item or one particular pot of money that they would like to resolve right then, because, again, the divorce process is always so extended. So they agree to present this one particular issue before me. I can give them immediate resolution that is legally binding, and the long wait doesn't occur, but it's only for small things.
And Divorce Court has great producers, right? They come up with just great couples and great situations.
They really do, and you really have to admire producers who can do that, because what they do is they talk to people over the phone and make a decision as to whether or not they'll make a great guest. They can be from Mississippi, New York, Florida, wherever, but you have to talk to them long enough to know if they have good. If they're a character, if they're larger than life, if they do have real interesting issues, because some people want to come on and don't have any issues at all. They just want to be on television. So you have to suss out who's playing and who's not playing. And I think my producers, especially this year, did a very good job.
Yeah, it's a great show.
Now, Steve and I have spoken with other judges and lawyers, and one of the things, is a clear message, is really to stay out of court. And if you can, look for the more amicable resolutions. And what do you say to that?
Oh, I absolutely agree because, a divorce is such an intimate, nuanced thing that to put it in front of a jurist who is independent, who has a lot going on, you're not going to get that kind of nuanced, little itty bitty here and there kind of resolution, and he can't really resolve it in a fair way because there's so much information, there's so much they don't know, there's so much emotion involved that it's really rough justice at its roughest. So I love mediation, collaborative divorces, all of those, not necessarily new, but more, they're becoming more prevalent, that allows people to sit with somebody who is educated about the process of pulling people together in a way that allows everybody to walk away feeling like they haven't been overly used. And you have some real input into the outcome of what happens. And I think that lessens the sense of powerlessness that you have if in fact you are fighting to the extent that some third party gives you a resolution that's the best one that he could come up with, but may not work for either one of you.
Right. I think that's wonderful. This way the couple has control over the decision as opposed to
absolutely.
A stranger.
And I think divorce is, one of the worst thing about divorce is the sense of lack of control over the most intimate things in your life, where you live, what kind of stuff you keep, your kids, how often you can see them, when you're going to see them. That sense of loss of control, I think, is extraordinary and something people don't always look at. And so I think that mediation and collaborative divorces do allow you to retain some sense of control.
And I guess that's why you call it the intelligent mediation, because you're more intelligent, it's more intelligent as a process.
Absolutely. And it also allows you to, a lot of things that people fight about, they're really not that upset about the vase. But in a mediation, you can separate emotional motivations and real economic needs and real physical needs. And a person who is a trained mediator or collaborative divorce attorney are trained to be able to do those kind of things. So it may not be about the vase. It may be about the affirmation of some emotional need that makes the vase a non-issue.
Right.
And you can't do that in court.
No, I guess people want to be vindicated. They want to be validated for whatever the issue is that they're so hurt about. For instance,
absolutely.
Infidelity.
And that's why a lot of people come on divorce court, because I get the question all the time, why would people want to air their dirty laundry on divorce court? And a lot of women, at least, say that they come on because they want someone to hear how badly they've been hurt, and they wanted somebody in authority to say he was wrong. Now, guys seem to be doing better without that. Women, you know what I mean? They come on to kind of keep her quiet and stop her from talking about.
We just want to get it over with.
I want to go on divorce court. But a lot of women say they want to come on so they can be heard and validated.
That's interesting. That's really interesting, the differences between men and women, which brings me to the next question, and that's communication. Because I know I was very fortunate to speak with you before, and we talked about, you see so much about relationships and the workings and the inner workings of relationships. And I asked you, I remember, what would you tell people to do so that they don't get divorced or so that they have a smarter divorce? And you talked a lot about communication and how they need to communicate better.
Yeah, I think people don't know how to have a good conversation, especially when you are involved in an issue that is emotional, even in the context within a marriage or when you are trying to extricate yourself from a marriage. So what you need to do is, one, be emotionally aware of where you are and what it is you want, and separate those two. Mm-hmm. And then when you have a conversation, it is not simply the statement of your position over and over again, or louder and louder, or with greater anger, because all that is really communicating is your level of frustration. If you really want to communicate in a manner that will allow you to resolve the issue that you have in front of you, you need to start where the other person is, which is, I understand that you want A, B, and C because of X, Y, and Z, and I get that. And I can honor A, B, and C, but I got to have X, Y, and Z, and this is why. Why can't we do? Because if you keep stating your position without ever acknowledging that you understand the other person's position, that other person will just continue to repeat it because they believe you never heard them. You can't move on until everybody knows they've been heard.
So I guess people really need to work on their listening skills.
Absolutely, because listening is the part of communication that is usually the most important, but people don't pay enough attention to. Because a lot of people do that courtesy silence. They have enough sense to know not to talk while you're talking, but they're not paying attention. They're either thinking about what they're going to say in response, or they're just being quiet. Yeah. But if you really, it's not a surrender to listen to somebody else's position. It actually gives you more power because it gives you information you can use to get what you want from them. If you understand truly what it is they're looking for, to the extent both of you can get something out of it, listening and understanding what they want and need will assist you in getting what you want and need.
It's so smart. I really love the way that you're so honest with people and the litigants that appear before you. What would you really like to tell them?
I think I tell them mostly what I do like. You know what I mean? I don't hold a lot back. There are some things that I have requested to be edited out. Yeah. Because I've really got exercised about one thing or another. I usually get the most animated about substances and children. Yeah. But I remember go ahead.
And I also remember we were talking, and you told me that you should tell people, they need to mature up and they need to be realistic about what their expectations are.
Absolutely. You have to. What I always tell them is it's an institution for grown people, and grown means you know how not to get what you want on Monday in order to get what you want on Tuesday. Wow. You have to understand that you're not going to get what you want all the time, that you will have to compromise, and that it is not, that you're not surrendering. I mean, we're all into this, I want. In order what you want to get to get what you want in the long term, you have to be able to do something you don't want to do in the short term. And if you're not mature, you're not able to do that. And, you see couples that are into retaliatory actions as opposed to, you did A, so I'm going to discuss A with you. They usually say, you did A? Well, I'm going to go ahead and do B. As opposed to, you did A? I didn't like that you did A because it made me feel B. And you might be able to get a resolution there as opposed to going out and doing B is not going to help you.
No, absolutely.
Well, Judge, tell some of our listeners who might be going to court now with the express purpose of trying to prove that their partner was the wrong one. Coach them and tell them how a judge sees that type of behavior. Is it going to get them anything?
Absolutely not. Judges don't want to hear about how you've been wronged unless you have unless you're speaking about something he or she can do something about. I can't fix your hurt feelings as a judge. I cannot give you back the 20 years that you feel you lost fooling with this other individual. All I can do is fix what I can do. And what a lot of people do is they fixate on the feeling of it and don't tell me the facts of it that I need to know in order to make an appropriate ruling. That's number one. And number two, or what a lot of people do is they don't pay attention. They're so emotionally involved in the moment that you don't hear what the judge is actually asking you for and wanting you to do. And the third thing is people tend to exaggerate a great deal in family court and divorce court. And to the extent that you do, you lose credibility because judges know what's reasonable and what's not. And if you're shown to exaggerate all of the time just to drive home, you resist that urge to drive home your point by doing that because you'll invariably go so far as to be unbelievable. The minute you lose your credibility, that's your biggest weapon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. But now this is what I find very hard for people to understand is no-fault divorce. So even if you are a victim, right, it doesn't really matter. And I think that that's something that people really struggle with.
Right. It depends on what kind of victim you are. No-fault divorce has occurred because it was just such a difficult thing to, what kind of wrong was wrong, what occurred in your house has to be statutorily defined, and that's difficult to do, very difficult to prove, caused a lot of animosity, so they said no-fault divorce. Yeah. And what a lot of people get into a situation is like, they feel that the justice system should do just that, deliver justice. And justice in a marriage also often involves the fact that maybe you'd been sleeping around or the other person had been sleeping around. How can I pay alimony or spousal support?
And like, who's sleeping with whom, and does it really matter?
Often it doesn't matter. There is, however, in certain states, a new concept of marital misconduct that it's been used in cases where there has been gross. For instance, if someone one of the partners spent all of your money gambling, and there was a definite economic impact, they can take that into account when they equitably distribute the assets. So, or if you spent money and time on a mistress or a lover, that can't. Some states will do that now, but some states will not. And it depends on what each state or what county or what country that you're in. But for the most part, those emotional, familial hurts are not addressed.
Yeah, which makes it really hard for some people to move on. And I get it. I really do understand that you're looking for some kind of fairness. And in your mind, like your brand of justice and the legal brand of justice are not the same often.
Right. And the only thing I can tell people is the old saying that's so true, the best revenge is living well. The next 10 minutes belongs to you. What you decide to do with it is up to you. Now you can nurse that anger, but it's not going to change anything. If you fought as hard as you could, gotten where you are you going to give? You already gave them the house. You already gave them half your money. Are you going to give them the next hour of your life? And if you can look at it that way, it helps you dig yourself out of that hole, I have been misused. Because if you continue to think about it, it will continue to eat you up. And continuing to lose.
I love the reframe. Let's change it up a little bit. I want to talk to something that is really near and dear to your heart, and that is teen domestic violence. And I think that if we can address that, domestic violence is a serious issue that I don't think people really pay enough attention to and stay in abusive relationships. So if you could talk to us a little bit more on what's going on and how people can take these lessons and learn perhaps how to make better relationships or get out of a relationship that is really destructive.
Right. I think what most people don't really understand about domestic violence is it's usually not an event or a series of events. It's a process. It is a process by which one person becomes less and less and another person becomes more and more controlling. That's why people don't understand. I was talking about why don't people leave. By the time it gets really ugly, they're usually psychologically incapacitated to some extent, where you learn to cope, where there's this honeymoon cycle. I mean, it depends on what kind of abusive relationship that you're in. The best thing that you can do is talk to your kids about what it looks like, what an abusive relationship looks like in its incipient stages. And you have to do that before they start dating anybody. You got to say if they always need to know where you are. If you met them on Monday, they can't do without you on Wednesday. All of that's not a sign of romance. That's a sign of insecurity. And those are the kind of things that are frightening. If they want to isolate you, if they get angry quickly, not only with you but with other people, if they tend to blame other people for their mistakes and not themselves, again, all of these signs are of a potentially abusive relationship. And you need to be able to see these signs early so you don't get caught in that psychological the washing machine that a lot of people do who end up in abusive relationships. And also, I think parents really need to understand that it's not a thing about married people. It's happening a lot with people who are dating. It is a power struggle. It is a power structure, and it's between two people who are intimate, and they need not be married in order to be in an abusive relationship.
An abusive relationship also doesn't mean scars and bruises. There's other ways to abuse somebody.
Absolutely not. I think one of the most, insidious cases of abuses that I have ever seen was a woman and a man, and they were in court in Cleveland Heights, and he simply would not allow her contact. She wasn't allowed to use the phone. She wasn't allowed to go in certain rooms of the house. And he just made her world smaller and smaller and smaller. And he finally threw something at her, but he didn't hit her with it. But she had become so terrified of him, she came to court. He was convicted of menacing. And immediately I ordered him out of the house, and I ordered no contact. And I said, if you do contact, you go 6. He went straight home. She went to work. He went straight home and was drinking a cup of coffee on the front step, waiting for her to come back home. I mean, it was just a sense of, you can't stop me. And she was terrified, never left her car, luckily, and she called the police. Police came and got him, and I put him in jail for 6 months.
So there's something wrong with a guy like this, though, right? There's something mentally wrong.
Something was clearly wrong with him, and I was having him going to go to domestic violence classes and all that kind of stuff, but he couldn't, you know what I mean? And so I put him in for 6 months, 1, to learn something, and 2, to give her an opportunity to get it together and get the help she needed to do, because I wasn't quite sure what he was going to do.
Yeah.
And this is something that it crosses all boundaries. Rich, poor, famous,
black,
infamous,
white, young, old, and people don't really believe that it's something that a rich woman somewhere can suffer from, because they see all of the things that she has access to and can't believe that kind of thing occurs there. But it does.
Maybe sometimes guys use that as leverage against them. The stuff, right?
True. I mean, you get into it. You can't make it on your own, or you're going to really live less than where you are. Can you make it? You think that you don't have an option. I mean, it's a very insidious step-by-step thing that makes the victim feel powerless.
Are people using this in divorce, like with false allegations of child abuse, physical abuse? Because I have heard.
Absolutely. I have seen in my court where we used to do domestic violence, you always see sometimes you would see your first. It's very hard to distinguish, because oftentimes leaving an abuser or a potential abuser of someone who's emotionally abusive will instigate the first real violence or escalate whatever violence. So you have to look at it that way. But also, when there hasn't really been any kind of anything going on, and all of a sudden domestic abuse, because they know that will put the abuser out of the house, and that's a leg up in the divorce proceedings. And I found in my judicial proceedings, on occasion, it's not often, but I did catch some people doing that, and it made me very angry, because there are real victims out there, and if you abuse the system in order to get leverage in a divorce action, judges who are less sensitive or less knowledgeable will see that and say, hey, it will increase the chances they won't believe someone who has actually been hurt because they were leaving. Can
you ever sanction anyone for making up accusations that weren't true in a personal protection order?
Yeah, you can, because if you swear them in and they testify to the circumstances that under which they're seeking a protection order, and it's clear that they lied, they can be held on perjury. It's a tough thing to do, though. It's so hard to prove. He did this in the house. How you prove he didn't?
Yeah.
How you prove she lied about it? how do you prove it happened in the first place? How do you prove it didn't happen? It's a very difficult. You really got to know and understand people and look at credibility and all of that kind of stuff. And still, on occasion, you're going to make the wrong call.
But I think in a situation like this is something you cannot represent yourself, and you really do need to seek legal counsel, family law lawyer. But not only that, someone who's skilled, who's got that expertise, because not everybody has that expertise.
Yeah, and I think it's very important. And what I used to do in my courtroom back in Cleveland was, whenever I had domestic violence cases, I always had a domestic violence advocate available to the victim at the very first proceeding, whether it be a motion for a protection order or a bond hearing, because what happens is they fall through the cracks. He's arrested, but when he gets back out, she's still home. She doesn't know what to do. So if she has access to the information and whatever things that are available to her to help her in whatever she needs to do, it's got to be right there for her.
What about supervised access? If someone is working on their anger management skills, really does want to help themselves, do you suggest that with supervised access, it's okay to see your children?
Yeah, I mean, I do, because people do grow.
Yeah.
People do change. People sometimes have a domestic violence incident that isolated to the fact that they're breaking up. So you cannot stamp all of humanity with "you've done this, consequently this is who you are and this is who you will be forever." And so each judge has to make a determination, and it's traumatic enough for the children as it is, and then all of a sudden to pluck one parent out of their life because of, now if they're clearly dangerous, you got to do that. But if it's just a chaotic situation, some things occurred, and you think things are going to resolve themselves and they're working on it, I think supervised visitation allows them the consistency to see the child. It also allows them the state to assure safety in the context of getting that done.
Right. Now, I know you're passionate about educating people about domestic violence. So let's try to break any myths and misperceptions. People think, and I don't know if this is true or not, but boys who see domestic violence become perpetrators of DV. Girls who see it often become victims. Is that true?
It can be. The numbers say if you do have domestic violence in the home, the likelihood of you patterning whatever happened at home will occur later on. So you live what you see.
Yeah.
So it doesn't always happen, but it increases the likelihood that it will happen if you have it in the home. And you tend to pattern the gender role of the gender of the parent that you identify with. So often that is the case. And I do talk to abusers about, if they have daughters, I mean, what you're modeling for your children and what you're teaching your daughter a marriage looks like. And is this exactly what you intended to do? Yeah.
And I think it's also important for our listeners to understand that women, girls, could also be perpetrators.
Absolutely. And we're seeing a dramatic increase in that. Women being abusive towards men, verbally abusive, and because, abuse is about power.
Yeah.
Often power is about money and access and control. And as we begin to have more of all of those things, we have a greater capacity to be perpetrators as well. And men do get hit. They don't talk about it often. One, because some are just embarrassed. Some don't believe it's abuse because they see it as a gender-related issue. Others don't. Oh, she can't really hurt me. I'll just put up with it, kind of thing. But it is an increasing phenomenon.
Or maybe I deserve it. You never know.
I'm not going to touch that one.
Okay. So let's change it up completely. You wrote a great article for the Huffington Post on becoming a victim of gray divorce. I just love that article. I've written something about gray divorce as well. But is there there's so much interest on the gray divorce now, and I think that the divorce rate is rising amongst the older generation. I mean, not population.
Like
50,
us.
60.
Me too.
As kids leave home, our kids leave home for university, or they go out to work, and they're no longer living at home. Can you provide tips and strategies for people to help work on their marriages so that it is better?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think one thing you have to realize, very rarely in life do you get a date certain about how something's going to change. You got pretty much, hopefully if your kids have got it together, you got a date certain about their exit date. You know when Junior's going to hit 18.
Yeah.
So I always see, I have a rule that I call 18 before 18. 18 months before 18, the last one gets ready to hit the road. You need to talk to each other about what you're going to do with your free time. You have to find a passion that you enjoy together, be it golf or tennis or bridge, but you have to actually find something or find similar situated couples to do something with, because you have to have something to keep you together. The children keep you together. You have a common interest, a common goal, a common force. Sometimes it's a common enemy, depending on, what stage of teenagehood they're in.
Yeah.
And you have to be able to replace that. We have a lot of leisure time and a lot of healthy years that we didn't used to have. This whole fourth quarter is new for everybody. When you were 65, you used to be old. Now, you're raring to go. It's the new 40.
Yeah.
And you look up and you have to be able to be excited, interested, passionate, and that doesn't happen on its own.
No, that's absolutely the truth. I remember going through some couples counseling, marriage counseling, and one of the things that the therapist advised us to do is go on a date, and we could not talk about our children. And for a lot of people, and it was hard. So what do you talk about? So it is, I totally agree. It's discovering what you can be passionate about together.
Absolutely. And what new you can do together. And it gives you something to focus on, and then it gives you other avenues to get out of the house, meet new people, and if you are enjoying your life in general, and that life involves the person to whom you are married, it gives you a reason to be together.
Yeah. So, I really like your messages. It's not all about divorce, but having a healthy relationship. So, I guess, even if you are divorced, then what happens going into the next significant relationship? Because as we all know, the divorce rate rises with each subsequent marriage. So what are you going to do?
Absolutely. I think a lot of people might resolve their economic issues. They might resolve their physical issues about where and who they're going to live, but they really didn't pay a whole lot of attention to whatever emotional baggage remained.
Yeah.
I would, if I'd been divorced or going to marry somebody divorced, have that divorced person go through some personal counseling, because that's a damaging thing. You're not damaged goods, but you've had some damage done to you, and you have to make sure that you don't want the next person to pay for whatever damage was done to you. So you got to make sure you really put a period on that issue, and that you've identified whatever part you played, because everybody in a divorce, not everybody, but often people villainize the other partner and accept and in so doing, because they are in a fight, it becomes a situation where they can't accept any responsibility for the part that they played. And to the extent that they have not done that, they cannot resolve any issues or make up for any problems that they created in that relationship and may repeat them. So I would really recommend individual counseling and then marriage counseling. I'm a firm believer in marriage counseling before getting married. My husband and I did it.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, and we did it before and we do it during. And I think it's huge to identify what your issues are and what your goals are, because people really don't talk. They talk about what. They talk about how sometimes, but they don't talk about why.
Yeah.
Why do you spend that money? Why do you need to do this? Why do you go on? Why do you talk to your girlfriends all day long? They don't talk about why. And if you don't talk about why, those needs, they kind of just take care of themselves without an understanding of where they come from and how your partner can meet them.
Did you catch that? They talk about what? They don't talk about why.
They don't talk about why?
I love that. I get it.
Good.
And that's the thing, because people fall into these relationship traps. They fall into the same patterns. So if you've got this bad communication pattern, they're talking about the what and not the why. It's never going to be like that.
Absolutely. I mean, you can't, and a lot, and as quiet as kept, people aren't as emotionally aware as they think they are. I mean, I can give you 90 reasons why I did A, B, C, or D, and none of them may be right. Those might be the rationalizations I've used for doing it, but I don't know why. I seek fear is a lot of, fear motivates us a great deal of the time. You ever watch, I watch TV programs like Hoarders and stuff, everybody, why are they doing that? Why are they doing that? There's fear going on there. There's compulsion going on there. There's needs. So a lot of people don't discuss the why because they don't know the why.
Yeah.
And it takes time and attention to understand the why.
It takes work.
Not only that, and it takes work, and I think you have to dig deep, and people are afraid to dig deep.
Yeah, and they don't want to look at what's wrong with them. There's something wrong with everybody. Something wrong with you, something wrong with me, and I think it's best that I know what it is before it hurts me.
Yeah.
A lot of people aren't like that. You have to be secure in yourself to look at what's not good about you, what things you don't do well. And I don't think we live in a society that encourages that, and I don't think that's something personally people are prone to do. Marriage is work. And it's worth the work.
No, and you know what? Being happy post-divorce is work too, and people don't see that.
Absolutely, and you can't live in it. You can live through some things, you can live in it, or you can live past it.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're going to live in it, you're going to revisit it all the time, and you don't reframe as we were talking about before. And the issue is, he got this. Am I going to let him have the next 20 minutes? And isn't time more valuable than anything else that I have or was taken from me? And if you just live in it, you never get past it, and it continues to damage you. And I have a phrase I called feeding the right dog. You got two dogs. One is yesterday and one is tomorrow. And you keep thinking about what happened to you. You keep looking at pictures. You keep thinking about what you don't have or what you didn't get or how you've been done over. You're feeding the past. That dog is going to get huge. And you only got a certain amount of food. The future doesn't get anything. But if you find something new to do, you take a sewing class, do something dumb, meet some new people, get interested in something, your brain can only really think about one thing at a time. So if you're learning something new, doing something new, that other dog doesn't get fed. And you will find when you fed tomorrow enough, you'll look up, and yesterday has gotten smaller because you haven't been feeding it.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah,
it reminds me of an analogy I heard. Why is the front windshield bigger than the rearview mirror?
Oh.
I don't know.
Takers? Because you need to spend more time looking forward than looking back.
Than you do back. Absolutely.
Great. Hey, speaking of really cool things, before we go, tell me about My Mother's Rules, a practical guide to becoming an emotional genius.
I think that everything that I just spoke to you about for the last however long we have been speaking is a function of my being emotionally educated, and she was the one who did that.
This is her book, by the way.
I found on the bench. Oh, thank you very much. I found on the bench that whenever I said something to a defendant that actually sunk in, or they said, "I get you," or "I understand where I went wrong here," it is an emotional lesson that my mother taught me about people act on how they feel far more often than they act on what they know, and they just don't know it because we feel so much faster than we think. And what I've done in that book is it's autobiographical to the extent that it tells in a rather funny manner about me and how unusual and weird I used to be, and was able to emotionally learn my way out of that to become successful, and also talks about the people that I saw in court and what emotional lessons my mother taught me that I taught them that allowed them to get where they were going as well.
I have to read it. What a great title, though.
Yeah, it's all about control.
Yeah.
You control how you feel. You can control your situation a lot better.
You're a great role model for so many.
Well, thank
You really
you.
are. And also you've written another wonderful book, Put It in Writing.
Put it in writing. It was a friend with mine. I wrote it with a friend of mine, Deborah Hutchison, and she had the same point of view that I did, which is a lot of things that go wrong in your among your family and friends are emotional things. And for instance, if you borrow money from your brother-in-law, or if you're caring for aging parents, or you've got a teen driver going out there, it gives you agreements to look at so you can sit down and talk through what all the concerns and problems are, so it can take a potentially destructive emotional situation, make it logical, make it so everybody understands where everybody's coming from.
That's amazing. So for our listeners, if they want to know more about the books, Judge Lynn, Divorce Court, please go to judgelynn.com.
Yeah, judgelynn.com. Both of my books are on there. I'm on Facebook at Judge Lynn Toler of Divorce Court. And I go there every day and I talk to people. And sometimes I have Ask Me Thursday on my website. If you've got a relationship question, I spend the whole day talking to people about what they do.
So you are for the people. And for us, and I want to just thank you so much for taking the time to speak with Steve and I on The Smart Divorce.
Oh, well, thank you so much. I enjoyed it.
Thanks, Judge Lynn.
Thank you.
What I loved about what Judge Lynn had to say was, for me, she's a role model. She is smart. She's empowering. She's real and authentic. Yeah. And she tries to teach people about life and how important it is to communicate. It's not about just getting divorced and the law, but it's really about communication, being a better person, being a great parent, putting your children's best interests first. And Judge Lynn takes all of that learning from her vast experience. I mean, she was the host of the primetime show, My Network TVs. She was on Decision House. She has such a wealth of experience to take to people, and I think that in terms of a reality show about divorce, you can't get any more real. Mm-hmm. And that's what I love.
I also like that she actually keeps in touch with people. You said that she was a judge of the people, and she is. I mean, she has a Facebook page. People write, she answers. How cool is that?
I have to tell you, the way that I connected with Judge Lynn was through her blog and Facebook.
Oh, yeah? That's
I
cool.
could not find an email address for her, and I reached out to her. So it just goes to show that she is approachable. But what I love about what she had to say in our interview today is the lessons that she has learned from her own life and her experience, and how she's able to share that with people so that you can be much smarter in life. Yeah. How much better does it get? So there you have it.
There you have it. JudgeLynn.com if you want more on Judge Lynn Toler. And another great show from you, Deborah Moskovich. Hey, if you want to write to you, people can contact you directly. What's the email address?
info@thesmartdivorce.com.
Or you can just write us over here at Divorce Source Radio at divorcesourceradio@gmail.com. Also, follow us on Twitter. The follow word Divorce Source will let you know when we have new programs for you.
But if there's a topic, listeners, that you want to hear about, please email Steve or myself and tell us something that you want discussed. If there's something that is a burning issue for you, we'll certainly consider it.
You bet. Look forward to talking to you next time, Debbie.
On The Smart Divorce.